a minute. Yeah. So, hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. So, today we'll be discussing how to use sentiment and diffusion indicator and how to basically, gauge uh, the market mood through different sentiment and diffusion indicator. So, just to give you a brief about it, I mean, what I personally do is that you know to have a top-down approach. So basically, I have to know what the broader indices are doing, right? And once you know what the broader indices are doing, like if the trend is going to turn positive or so, so then that's where the second layer would come that we will analyze which stock or the sector is doing well, and that's how the process will work. So basically, sentiment and diffusion indicator will help you to understand the market mood, and it will help you to anticipate the key turning points. So based on that, that is how you might probably want to be positioned in the market in the forthcoming weeks or months or days. Okay, so different sentiment indicators and diffusion indicators will have relevance for a different time horizon. Just to give you a small example. So again, I will explain this everything in detail during the webinar. But say for an example, something called as daily swing, which is a proprietary indicator. Okay, so that would be relevant just from 1 day to 1 week perspective. Not beyond that. So when you look indicators like daily swing, it would be very important for you all to understand the relevance of that particular indicator. So again, we have different sort of sentiment and diffusion indicators which cater to different time frames. Like, there will be few sentiment indicators which will be helpful from a very short term perspective. There will be few that will be helpful from a short to medium term perspective, and then medium to long term perspective also. There are few indicators that can be helpful. So depending on your style, that's how you can use different sort of sentiment and diffusion indicator to your needs. And that's how you can form a view in the market, and that's how you will be able to gauge the market trend successfully.
Jay, 1 second. I'm sorry. Some people are complaining that audio is not coming. Can someone confirm, please? Everyone over here. You can put it in the chat, everyone, if you are able to hear out Jay. It is clear. Okay. Audible. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
You have to increase your volume a bit, Jay.
Wait, you let me know if it is better then. I'm just bringing mic in front of me only. Is it better now?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Okay. Okay, fine. So yes, so once again, and see, I will try to explain in between in Hindi as well, because we have got many feedback that people are they might understand well in Hindi. So I'll try to explain few of the important parts wherever required in Hindi as well. But so the way this webinar will work is that 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes or so I'll present, and I'll try to cover everything. Later on, if you all have any questions, you all can shoot it. So be it in Hindi, English, whatever it is, I'll try to address it in that particular language, and help you understand the concept. So without wasting much time, let me share my screen. Chavan, my screen is visible, right? Chavan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Jay.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Jay, if you can go on a light mode, please. Light mode, please, Jay. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry, I got muted. Yeah. Uh, so to come to the sentiment indicator section, you have to go on the left, hover on this second icon over here, and then you can go to sentiment indicators. Okay. Once you come to sentiment indicators, you will see four different types of things. That is participant positioning, okay, momentum swing, derivative data, and market breadth. Okay. So the momentum swing one is basically a proprietary indicator, and which is nothing but, basically we try to gauge the momentum on all the FNO stocks. Okay. So that I'll be covering in detail. Now, participant positioning, this is the first thing that we look at. Now, this basically works very well from few weeks to few month perspective. Okay. Uh, so in this, what we actually do is that we plot the participants positioning. Okay. Which means, be it client, DII, FII, prop. Okay. We plot their positioning at the bottom of the chart, which you can see it in the green. So based on that, there are some overbought and oversold zones that we have observed looking at the past data, and that's what we have plotted over here in terms of this orange line which you can see. Okay. uh, so first I'll come to the client data. Later on I'll cover this client plus FII as well. So see, for every participant, which is client, DII, FII, or prop, okay, we have given three views of that. So one is the client's net index future position, okay, which means that in the index futures, are they net long or net short? Okay. Now, the other one which you have is client net index position. Okay. Now, net index position meaning it includes everything, call, put, futures, everything. Okay. So based on that, whether they are long or short in the index, that is also something that you get to know through this tab. The other one is client index futures percentage long. So what we do is that, within this, I mean, in this green line, what you see is basically the absolute position. Okay. Absolute position, yeah, of clients. So similarly, you can plot it in percentage terms. Okay. So say, for example, your long percent, say your long is 20. Okay. Um, and say, for example, the shorts within that is 80. So basically your long percentage is 20, right? So that is how we arrive to the client index future long percentage position. Okay. So sometimes what we have observed is that absolute figure can sometimes breach their boundary, but that's where long percentage comes into play. Okay. And typically, we have observed a range like, say, 70 on the upside and 20 on the downside. So whenever these two ranges comes, that's where they turn out to be extreme in the short term, short and the medium term. Okay. So first I will just run you through the long percentage position. So over here, see, basically what we have done is that all the similar things that we have done it for client, DII, FII, and prop. Okay. So the prop trading, I mean, we don't focus much because mostly these are kind of hedge position, so they don't give us much insights. But I'll run you through clients, then FIs and DIs net index future position, because that works very well. Okay, now if you see the client positioning in the index future, okay, you can see that in the past, I mean, the range has been from 90,000 contract. This is positive I'm talking about. Okay. So basically, when they are net long by 90,000 contract or 1,40,000 contract, that's where, typically a bottom occurs. So, one also needs to understand the characteristics of each of the participants. Like, clients usually they will keep shorting as the market rises higher, and they will keep accumulating as the market goes lower. So there will be a point where the markets will bottom out, and at that point of time, specifically the clients will have meaningful long positions as per their historical data, whatever we see. Okay, so that's where when they reach that point, you can say that a bottom has occurred. Okay, or you can say that the market could be near its bottom, right? So keeping that in context, let us see how clients have behaved in the past. So see, I mean, you can see that prior to 2014-15 or so, I mean, this data used to go haywire. I mean, the range was very big, but I think after the P note ban or so, I don't know. I mean, some changes have taken place, and now you can see that there is this established range that we can see, right? So whenever they are net long by, say, somewhere around 90,000 contract or 1,40,000 contract, that's where the market sort of bottoms out. And whenever their positioning is, say, somewhere around minus 10,000 to minus 45,000 contracts, that's where there is a very high probability that the market would peak sooner or later. Okay, so let us look at some examples over here. So let me use the horizontal line for better understanding. Sorry, vertical lines. So see, you can see from 2018 onwards. Okay, this is where the clients had long position of, say, somewhere around 1,27,000 or so. That's where the market bottom. Okay, then once they had this position over here, I mean, we did get a short-term sideways consolidation for, I think this lasted for a few weeks or so. And after that, there was this one major, bottom that was actually done over here in the client positioning. I mean, clients were net short over here, and that's what ended up, resulting into a top in the Nifty index. So over here as well, you can see that when they were net short by more than 45,000 contract or so, this rally peaked out, and it saw consolidation for a meaningful period of time. Okay. Later on, once again, when it reached over here, okay, we basically ended up having, some sort of divergence over here. And that's where, market eventually peaked out and it saw a correction. So this is where you can see that there was this divergence that existed over here, and then eventually the market peaked out and it saw a correction. Now in COVID low, that's where their long position had reached almost to 1,40,000 contracts or so, and that's where you can see that the market eventually bottomed out. So over here, I mean, COVID was the only time basically where eventually what happened was that there was a significant drawdown in the open interest as well. So this part will come to in a while, but you could see that at this at this point over here, when their long position was at its peak, okay, there were some meaningful intraday bounce that we had got. I mean, it was, I think, somewhere around, this part or so, there was this that we were at minus 10% on lower circuit. From there, it had recovered. So there were some meaningful bounce also that we had got from time to time over here. But yes, I mean, COVID was kind of an exception where, this did not work particularly very well, because the momentum was very strong on the downside, and people were actually cutting their positions at that point of time. And this, when we look at the derivative data, I'll come to this part, but that's where open interest had become very low. That means people were not really participating much, and that's why we weren't getting that accurate picture. But at this point, like you can see that when their position reached to this minus 10 to minus 40,000 kind of levels in the future. So that's where actually, over here somewhere, there was this data which was not in sync. But after that, in this rally, and especially when we got this zigzagging over here, okay, that's where it started out working very well. And in fact, in the last few years or so, you can see that this has worked very well. So now when we come to fast forward to 2022, you can see that market bottomed over here, when the client's positioning was, say, somewhere around 90,000 to 140. Okay, again over here you can see that market bottomed. Over here the market peaked. Over here the market peaked. So it works inversely, like when they are long to positive 90 or 140, that's where the market actually bottoms over here. Okay, so this was a divergence that you can see. At this point it was bottom. At this point it ended up forming a top over here. And here we are right now, where their positioning had touched minus 10,000, and from there it is rebounding, and we have seen some correction over here, right? So if we go by the past as well, there could be a chance that there could be a meaningful top also that can occur. Now, one thing that people have to keep in mind is that sentiment indicators will always give you a warning, right? That we are reaching this critical level. You need to be careful based on the historical data that we have. Now, whenever sentiment reaches an extreme, okay, and it is indication of a trend reversal or so, you need price action to confirm that. Okay, because as long as price action doesn't confirm, the prices can, say, keep rising higher, and the client's positioning will keep going short. I mean, they will keep shorting to the point where something reaches an extreme, and that's where then eventually it reverses. For example, you can see over here, I mean, there was some extreme that we had reached over here. After that, there was a pullback, and that's where it led to some unwinding. And then again, it started declining. So always, one has to keep in mind the trend. Okay, now there will be different uh, characteristics at each point of time, which you will have to figure out when we are in this market. So say for example, I mean, in this particular phase, there were times where they were net short. Okay, but again what we used to get was a minor pullback, but again there was an uptrend. So in strong uptrending or strong downtrending markets, just like just like those technical indicators where market can remain overbought for a very long time, say on RSI, and the prices can keep rising higher despite they being at 80, 90. Similar sort of thing can happen over here, where people may just, because see, you understand from this perspective that if the clients are short, okay, someone else is long, correct? Because this is a zero sum game, right? And there are certain mindset that these players have. Like I told you, I mean, clients, they usually keep buying when the market falls, and they keep selling when the market rises higher, right? So ones who are in actually, in gaining position, they may not want to get out from that position as long as, they don't see a trend, a meaningful trend reversal, right? So that's where, I mean, you will have this bouts of selling in between, and these positions will get corrected. But you need to understand what is the range that is working well right now, because you can see that in after 2022 or so, you can see these full cycles getting complete, right? But when there was this one-sided bull market that we had seen, so majorly they used to be net short, or it used to be like barely any position used to be there. Okay. Now the same thing, um, now, like I told you, I mean, you can see the client's positioning reaching to extreme over here, and it is reaching to extreme over here as well, in terms of long position. Now, same thing that you can see it in absolute terms as well. I mean, in percentage terms as well. Okay. So in percentage terms, whenever the net long, goes to around say 40% or so, that's where a bottom occurs. Okay. And when their net long is say somewhere around 66% or so, that's where it sort of gets extreme, and we can eventually expect a correction or a pullback. Okay. Now, like I told you, I mean, it is very important to understand what the broader trend is. Okay. Based on that, you will be able to make a judgment whether are we only going to see a pullback or a meaningful correction. Okay. And that's where your some part of trend analysis will actually become very important for you all. So just to repeat that in Hindi, uh, client, क्लाइंट, FII, DII एंड प्रॉप, ये चार के पोजिशनिंग हम यहाँ प्लॉट करते हैं. ओके. एंड हमने ये ऑब्जर्व किया है कि उनके टिपिकल पैटर्न्स होते हैं. ओके. जहाँ पे से उन लोग अगर नेट लॉन्ग 90,000 से 1,40,000 कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होते हैं, वहाँ पे टिपिकली बॉटम्स बनते हैं. ओके. एंड जब क्लाइंट्स नेट शॉर्ट रहते हैं -10,000 टू -45,000 कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स, एंड समटाइम्स वो उसके नीचे भी चला जाता है. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ओवर ईयर, okay, I mean, I think it was basically over year, it was around this point, that's where I mean clients net short maximum हो गए थे. I think for last 4 or 5 years में कभी हमने इतने शॉर्ट्स नहीं देखे थे. ओके. सो दैट्स वेयर ये हुआ कि यहाँ पे साइडवेज कंसोलिडेशन हो गया. एंड इनफैक्ट साइडवेज कंसोलिडेशन कहना भी गलत रहेगा, बिकॉज स्मॉल मिड कैप्स यहाँ पे ऑलमोस्ट 10% जैसे करेक्ट हुए इवेंचुअली. ओके. सो दैट्स वेयर ये सारे इंडिकेटर्स है, ये आपको बहुत मदद कर सकते हैं टू टाइम द मार्केट फ्रॉम शॉर्ट टू मीडियम टर्म पर्सपेक्टिव. क्योंकि जैसे सपोजिंगली मैं आपको मतलब मेरा अप्रोच बताता हूँ. फॉर मी टू गो लॉन्ग और शॉर्ट ऑन द मार्केट, ओके, आई मतलब मुझे एक टॉप डाउन अप्रोच होना चाहिए कि मुझे इंडेक्स क्या लग रहा है. अगर मुझे इंडेक्स में तेजी लग रहा है तब जाके मैं बाइंग करूंगा. करेक्ट. एंड अगर मुझे इंडेक्स में मंदी लग रहा है या मुझे ऐसे लग रहा है कि वो नीचे आ सकता है, ओके, सो दैट्स वेयर आई विल पोजिशन माई सेल्फ फॉर शॉर्ट. करेक्ट. तो इंडेक्स तेजी में है या मंदी में आने वाला है, वो आपको ये सेंटिमेंट इंडिकेटर्स टू सम एक्सटेंट बता सकता है. सो सी, सेंटिमेंट इंडिकेटर्स ये एक्चुअली कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री है. जो आप ऑलरेडी आपका जो भी मेथोडोलॉजी है, ठीक है, उस पे अगर आप ये सेंटिमेंट इंडिकेटर्स आप ओवरले करो, इट विल हेल्प यू टू ट्रेड विद कॉन्फिडेंस. बिकॉज मान लो कि हम कहते हैं कि RSI अगर 80-90 ऐसे आ जाता है तो वो बहुत एक्सट्रीम हो जाता है, एंड वी कैन सी अ करेक्शन. करेक्ट. आई मीन दैट इज द जनरल नोशन विच पीपल हैव. बट कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जब 80-90 पे RSI रहता है तब भी सबसे ज्यादा मोमेंटम रहता है. करेक्ट. एंड इट इज ओनली व्हेन वी रीच एट सम पॉइंट जहां पे एक्सट्रीम होके वी गेट अ करेक्शन. तो वो एक्सट्रीम कब होता है, that is something these all sentiment indicators will help you to understand. एंड आपको हमेशा आई मीन अगर आपको सपोजिंगली 4 इंडिकेटर 5 इंडिकेटर फ्लैश होते हुए दिखे कि सब कुछ ओवरसोल्ड जोन पे है, सो दैट इज द पॉइंट वेर यू कैन सेफली से कि यहाँ पे से अगर इमीडिएटली नहीं गिरेगा, एटलीस्ट बाउंस या तो नया अपमूव आएगा, एटलीस्ट in any case a bounce आएगा. So for example, if the prices are going down and if sentiment reaches some extreme on the various other indices, ठीक है, तो यहाँ से हम सेफली ये कह सकते हैं कि अगर मंदी भी होना है तो एटलीस्ट शॉर्ट टर्म में एक बाउंस आ सकता है. ओके, एंड इट इज ऑलवेज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब आई मीन बाउंस आता है देन प्रॉफिट बुकिंग इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. करेक्ट. तो ये सारी चीजें आपको ये आई मीन काउंटर ट्रेंड रैलीज कब आने वाली है, दीज आर ऑल थिंग्स दैट ये सारे इंडिकेटर्स आपको समझाने में मदद करेंगे. अब मैंने ये क्लाइंट पे मैंने इतना टाइम मैंने फोकस इसके लिए किया बिकॉज DIIs, FIIs, दे ऑल हैव द सेम लॉजिक बट उनके परसेप्शंस डिफरेंट होते हैं. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू सी FIIs हमेशा मार्केट के डायरेक्शन में ट्रेड करते हैं. ओके, विच मीन्स दैट इफ द मार्केट इज राइजिंग हायर they will keep building long positions, and if the market is falling they will keep building short positions. And when this long or short position reaches an extreme, that's where a trend reversal can happen. Now trend reversal can be of a short term magnitude or a medium term magnitude depending on how it is overall poised in the structure. Okay, so but it will help you to understand when in the short term or a medium term we are reaching an extreme, and when is it the time that you need to be cautious. So say for example when we look at the FIIs, okay, so you can look at this period. So like I told you, I mean, when you are in this winning position, which FIs were in during this time, so all they would do is that long position they used to create, then they used to cut their position, then again they used to create long, then they again used to cut. So it was, sort of whipsawing between net long and then turning neutral, net long and then turning neutral. And you could see that whenever, I mean, you could see over here as well that over here when it peaked so over here when it peaked, after that you got a sideways consolidation. Over here as well, when the FI's positioning had reached extreme, you got some sort of pullback eventually. Over here as well you got a pullback. So that's how they used to play when this bull market was on. But now over here we are actually seeing full cycles playing out. That means from one extreme they are going to other extreme. So that's where हमारा ट्रेडिंग पॉइंट विल बी व्हेन these indicators go to extreme. जब ये middle में रहेंगे then it may not indicate anything. Okay, but when it reaches an extreme, that is where the action point becomes. So say for example over here, okay, you can see this was so FIIs का range again is 60,000 से 90,000 contracts on the upside. So when their net long reaches more than 90,000, that's where you have to be very cautious because that is like an upper end of their positioning. So over here you can see that they were net long by 90,000 contract. That's where the market peaked. When they are net short by say 1,25,000 or 1,70,000 contracts, that's where the market usually bottoms out. Okay, ये यहाँ पे हमने divergence देखा. Okay, but each time, I mean, it respected those levels. So 90,000, 60,000, and you got a peak from here. Okay, so यहाँ पे भी we got a 4-5% correction. यहाँ पे we got 6-7% correction, and over here also you could see record shorting that was happening, and after that there was a big up move that we saw. Now, like I told you, you have to use it in combination. Okay, so supposingly if I plot client ka data, okay, client index net future position, when I plot this, so when FIIs are net short to the extreme and the clients are net long, okay, to the extreme. So that's where typically ये important lows की निशानी है. Okay, because both these participants are now reaching an extreme, and यहाँ पे when you take action, I mean it should turn out to be profitable. Now, like I told you, यहाँ पे the main thing is that you have to start building position. मतलब जब ये extreme होके ये reverse होना चालू होता है, that's where I mean you might probably want to put some part of your money, and then when you get say trend line breakout, and then all other technical stuff, like I follow RMI. So when RMI is basically Rohit momentum indicator. So when Rohit momentum indicator turns around and it gives a bullish crossover, so then that's when we start building position. Okay. So जब ये अगर आप देखोगे कि ये दोनों ही एक्सट्रीम पे पहुंच रहे हैं, राइट, सो बेसिकली FIIs बहुत ज्यादा नेट शॉर्ट है, and DIs, sorry, clients बहुत ज्यादा net long है, then that's where a meaningful bottom can occur. Even you can see over here, यहाँ पे काफी ज्यादा नेट शॉर्ट थे FIIs, and यहाँ पे clients were net long to its extreme, and that's where a meaningful bottom occurred. Now over here as well, there were many reasons to think, uh, and I will come this in a while, that over here as well, I mean there was many indicators that were flashing that a short-term correction could be complete. So I'll come that in a while. But yes, I mean, see, this is how y'all can gauge the sentiment and based on the positioning of the participants. Even DIIs have become extremely important in the past 2-3 years, and their signals have also done wonders, right? So when the market was rising higher, okay, so first thing is that DIIs ka bhi positioning is very similar to how clients behave. I mean, they will keep shorting as the market rises higher, and they will keep going long as the market declines. Okay, and when they reach their extreme, that's where you can say that a meaningful turnaround can happen. So in fact, over here, I mean, they were net short to their highest probably in their history. That was in 2021. Okay. So you can see over here, their net short went to almost around 95,000 contract or so. That was never seen before. And eventually you saw the Nifty peaking out, right? In fact, over here as well. So wait, let me show it through the horizontal line. Sorry, vertical line. So you can see over here, यहाँ पे भी when they were net short, that's where the market peaked and it saw a correction. At the bottom, you could see that the DIIs were actually net long to the tune of almost around 47,000 contracts or so. Sorry, in fact, 68,000 contract or so. And that eventually led to a bottom. Now over here as well, you can see that, somewhere around this point. So that's where again, they were long, and I mean, over here, initially what was happening was that the market breadth was not picking up, but जब वो election का result आया and the market mood was good, and that's where the breadth started picking up. So, that's where from net long, they went to net short over here. And right now, I mean, it is not indication of, I mean, it is not giving indication of anything, but like I told you, I mean, when all the three participants, okay, they come to a point where they reach an extreme, that is like, a thing where you have to go all out and make it count. Now, let me show you with that example. See, second one I'm plotting is client. Third one I'm plotting is FIIs. Okay. And you can see at this bottom, okay, at this bottom, which was over here, you could see that the DII's positioning was maximum long, clients were maximum long, and the FIIs were maximum short. I mean, all the three things falling in place together, you don't get those signals quite often. Okay. But whenever it happens, I mean, these are like very significant, signals which one should not miss out, right? and that's where I told that you can actually combine your analysis and overlay the analysis of the sentiment indicators of the participant positioning, and your probability of predicting a medium term trend will become very high, because I mean you can see it in the chart visually, that whenever there the fi. So usually I will tell you what I follow more is the fi's positioning, and to certain extent client's positioning. And when all the three data points are at an extreme, that's where you can say of a meaningful correction that can happen. Now one thing which we also found out very helpful was client plus fi's positioning. So, baki time pe I mean, this signal sort of helps you to catch the tops and bottoms meaningfully, but these are not something where you will get signals every month or every 2 3 months. I mean, it can take time, but whenever it occurs, these are meaningful. Like for example, over here, that's where a top occurred. Okay. So over here as well, you could see that there was a bottom that was formed. Over here, it was a top. Over here, it was a bottom. Okay, and over here, it was a bottom. So this index has basically worked out beautifully, uh, because what it does is that we add up client's positioning and we add up FI's net positioning. So whenever their net long of both this, okay, touches say 95,000 contracts or 1 lakh contract, 1 lakh 10,000 contract, that's where it gets to an extreme. And when it goes on the downside, when it is minus 24 to minus 56,000, that's where you can say that a meaningful bottom can occur. Okay. Now there can be some lead lag or divergence that you can see, but broadly it will tell you about the trend, what can happen in the forthcoming, days and weeks. So, that will help you to position yourself accordingly. Now, this is momentum swing. So, and please don't worry. After this session ends, we will take up Q&A. So there will be ample of time for that. So yeah. And एक चीज ये ध्यान रखना कि medium, I mean, like I told right at the start, that each of the sentiment indicators is relevant from a different time perspective, correct? So in that sense, participant positioning helps you to capture the medium term tops and bottoms. Okay. Now, when we come to the daily swing and the average swing, so this will help you to capture a very, very short term tops and bottoms. Okay. Like for example, you can see over here that so I will first explain you the logic with which we are built. So basically, over here we are seeing if the RMI is rising higher or falling, okay, for all the FNO stocks. And if say out of 100 stocks, 10 ka momentum is rising, but 90 ka momentum is falling. So the answer, so the figure that we get 10 over here, we plot it over here, correct? So now when uh, the reading comes to say minus 10 or below, that's where it reaches an extreme. Okay, so from there a short term bounce or a sideways consolidation is due. Okay, please keep this in mind. I mean, because when I mean we have we have spoken about this indicator in length for at various forums, but the conception, the misconception that people have is ke ye extreme आया तो गिर ही जाएगा या बढ़ ही जाएगा. Okay, but you have to understand that it will basically mean that the halt of an existing trend. Okay, it may reverse or it may turn sideways, right? That is something that you have to keep in mind, and I will show you with the examples. So say for example, you can see over here that the daily swing had reached to 90. Okay, and after that we got a 3 4 5 days of consolidation over here, and only then it picked up. Now, you may say that why is it important? The reason it could be important is because if you are a weekly option buyer or a seller, okay, this is what will help you a lot in understanding, what is the time where, you have to bet aggressively on the long side, and when is the time when you need to hold back and wait for the indicators to cool off. So similarly, you can see that every minor short-term tops and bottoms, okay, you will get it over here. So over here, it did not reach an extreme, but over here again, it had reached an extreme. So, and after every bottom, you have got those 500, 700 points kind of up move. So, basically, if you are a short-term swing trader, who deals in the weekly option or so, I mean, I would guarantee that these things you will find it extremely helpful, because what happens is that when the market is going up, up and up, you will always have that fear कि अरे ये तो ऊपर चला जाएगा, I mean वो FOMO भी होगा कि should I get into it or no. But when you know that the daily swing is above 90, that is the time you need to hold back, because what it can happen is that it can lead to, see over here as well, when it reached to 90, okay, in fact over here, then we had 4 days of sideways consolidation. In a weekly expiry, you have 5 days, correct? Your premium would have gone. I mean, if you were practically trading this phase then, because market did not do anything and it was just sideways and your premium was gone, right? Similarly, when it was going down over here, everyone was expecting it to fall, but you saw that it has come towards the oversold zone. In such situation, like I told you, what can happen is that the existing trend can halt, I mean, if not reverse and bounce. So that's where, I mean, if you are an option trader and if you have a view that mandi hoga, but when it reaches to the level jahan pe 20 या 10 आ जाता है, you have to be careful, because next 2-3 days एक sideways consolidation भी हो सकता है, which can lead to your premium erosion. So this I found it very helpful, especially for the people who are trading in the weekly options or so. They may find it extremely helpful. Now, average swing, what we have done is that वो daily swing को ही we have smoothened it with a 9-day average, okay, to get a much more cleaner signals. So just like you see, I mean, daily swing and all giving, getting overbought and oversold much frequently, because over here we are just plotting day on day data. So एक ही दिन में अगर market correct होगा, तो it can even fall from 90 to 10, okay. And at the same time, if market बहुत बढ़ जाता है after a sustained downtrend period, like you can see over here, यहाँ पे नीचे 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 जा रहा था, and then when we saw meaningful up move, so 5 days में वो 7 से सीधा 93 हो गया, right? So that's how quickly this can move. Now, again, I am mentioning this is because people have a lot of misconception over here कि स्विंग 90 पे आ गया मतलब सेल करो, निफ्टी नीचे जाएगा ही, या स्विंग 20 या 10 पे आया तो बाय करो, निफ्टी ऊपर जाएगा ही. What it will do is that it will help you to understand कि यहाँ पर जो current trend है that will take a pause, okay. So there will be a sideways consolidation or there will be a bounce. Now again over here, what you have to keep in mind is the trend. What is the existing trend? If the existing trend is a bull market, then every time it will come back to 20, वहां से up move आएगा. Each time it will come back to 20, वहां से up move आएगा. But at the same time, when it is in a downtrend, like you can see over here. In fact, we did not had much downtrend over here, and we have plotted only after 2019 or so. But yes, see, in a sideways sort of market, especially zigzag होगा ना, तो it will come from overbought to oversold, and that's how it will play out. But when you have these sustained sort of downtrend, तो कभी भी वो थोड़ा भी overbought zone के वहां पे आएगा, because see, in every pullback, even in the downtrend that you can see over here, okay, you would see the swing reaching to 70, 80 or so. I mean 80 to 90 levels or so. And in a downtrend, when the swing reaches 80 90, it works the other way कि वहां पे top हो जाएगा and वहां पे गिरेगा. So you have to understand the broader trend as well कि अगर bull market है तो every time 20 वहां पे आएगा, there is a good chance that a short term bottom has occurred and it is likely to move higher. Similarly, if it is a downtrend, then every time it reaches to 80 90 mark in a downtrend, you will see a short term top forming. Okay. And on the downside, in fact, you may end up seeing divergence forming like you see over here. I mean, over here there was a bottom, then there was few days of sideways consolidation which led to the daily swing inching higher. But again, when it went down, it eventually formed a positive divergence and only then bottomed out, right? So this is how you have to understand. So that's where one thing which people should know, and I am highlighting it again because it is important, is that all the sentiment indicators that we will be discussing right now, those will give you an indication कि यहाँ से trend reverse हो सकता है, okay? But not necessary कि वो वही दिन पे हो जाए. You have to wait for the price action to confirm, okay? In terms of price action to confirm, you can take it anything like, crossing above the hourly averages or crossing above the hourly swing highs or daily swing highs, whatever time frame you are following. So that's how you have to combine sentiment with the price action, okay? So similar to like I mentioned over here, like DIs and FIs, when all of them reach to one extreme, it becomes an important signal. Similarly, when daily swing and average swing, they reach an extreme, so it becomes a very good bottom as well. So like I told you, I mean, at this point of time, there were so many indicators that were flashing on the screen and telling that the sentiment has turned extreme in the short term. Be careful. I mean, there can be a bounce that can come by, or there could be even a new high. Now, whether it is just going to be a bounce or a new high would, depend on how you are gauging the trend. Okay. But at least over here, you can see that the average swing was in oversold zone. The daily swing was in oversold zone and we got a pullback. Okay. Similarly over here, so not at every bottom you won't see daily swing and average swing coming towards the bottom at the same time. But when they do, it can be a very good signal and an indication that the existing correction can halt, and if not a bounce, then at least a sideways consolidation is due. So, people who are trading into options will actually find it very helpful. So say for an example, you are a weekly option trader, okay? And when you see both of this coming towards the lower end, around 10 or 20 odd levels. So if they both are in single digit, like it was over here, then nothing like it. I mean, these are like brilliant, turnaround points. But and at the same time, when they both reach an extreme at the same point, okay, that's where you also have to be careful that a sideways consolidation can also follow after that. Now, whether it will turn out to be a sideways consolidation or a correction, a lot will depend whether your hourly averages are getting breached or no, or your swing lows are getting breached or no. Okay, but it will be an indication that a sideways consolidation can happen, and you have to be careful, especially when you are buying weekly option. But like I told you, when these sort of things reach an extreme, and say when you are in a bull market and in this correction, you get both the points in oversold zone, that's where it is a good chance that a meaningful bottom can occur and you can get a good up move. Because even over here, when we got the signal, after that there was this 1,000 point rally that we have seen in the index, from the bottom, right? So again, I think this might be very helpful for the very short term trader. Okay. So remember, this was from a medium term perspective. This is from a short term perspective. Okay. That you might find it very helpful. Now, in the derivatives data that we have is, one is the call minus put histogram. So basically, this helps you to understand, okay, what is the net figure based on the call and put what is existing. So say for example, if the call writing, I mean the call position is 70 and put position is 30, so the figure would be 70. Okay. Now this again, I have found it very helpful from a short-term perspective, meaning that when there are lot of call options, okay, as compared to put options which are open, okay, then it can lead to a short-term, a short-term bottom can be found, and we can get a pullback. Okay, like you see over here as well. I mean, over here we had this maximum call and put, but like I told you, I mean, these all things are relevant only from a day or a two perspective. I mean, अगर ये over एकदम high reading आ गया call minus put का, okay, the reading is extremely high. This means that a lot of call shorting has happened today. Okay, I mean activity in call has happened, and if the market has been falling and this rises, I mean this is what usually happens. That means then we assume that there was a lot of call writing that has happened. So typically, so there will be one knee-jerk reaction on the upside that you may see because the momentum on the downside is very sharp, so there will be a pullback in between. So that's what this will help you. But like I told you, this is an extremely short-term indicator that is there, okay, which would be relevant from a day or a two perspective. That's it. I mean, that's about it. You don't have to look beyond that. And similarly, on the downside, and actually, this behavior has been totally different after 2021. Where we are seeing more call writing at the top. Which also sort of indicates that people are more comfortable shorting call options than rather than shorting put option. But when we were in this sort of phase, okay, so यहाँ पे put writing used to be a lot, and put writing के लिए भी there was a level that we had found out, and which was say somewhere around this point. So यहाँ पे you can see that whenever the put writing is very high, a short term top can occur, somewhere over here. So यहाँ पे हुआ, in fact it was only 2-3 days after जहाँ पे हुआ, and but yeah, I mean, so when you are in a bull market and when you see that call minus put histogram reaching to an extreme on the downside, that is telling you that a lot of people has gone overboard on shorting put options, and a reversal could be around the corner, so you need to be careful. But like I told you, this is just a 2 or 3 day, I mean 1 2 to 3 days kind of perspective that you can have, nothing beyond that. Okay. Now I will come to the futures OI by index in a while, because it is very important to discuss its implication. So that's where I will try to combine it with the other indicator, which is relevant from a long-term perspective. Okay. Future OI by index is helpful from a very long-term perspective to understand major tops and bottom. So for that, I will combine it with the put call volume put call ratio, which is prudent with the 14-day average. Okay. So next one that we have is a future open interest, right? So this is like an absolute figure that we are, plotting over here, like you see over here. And remember, I was telling you that the open interest had dropped down substantially during the COVID fall, and it was because of this where we did not get a sense of true positioning of the clients, and that's where it sort of gave you not significant results because the volume had shrinked substantially in this part. Okay, but what it tells you is that, see, when the market is rising higher, ideally the open interest should also be rising higher. That would be an indication that people are interested in this market and they are building positions in the direction of the market. It was basically in the time since 2018 or so that has happened, that the index was rising higher and the open interest was consistently, was going down only. In fact, it was not rising. So that was an indication that you need to be careful, because not many people are interested in this market. Because also what you remember is that mid cap had actually peaked over here. Okay, so this lesser participation in the open interest was also because people were not making money at that point of time in long positions, and And most of us, have this tendency usually to go long. So when you're not making money and you're losing consistently, you will drop down the volumes or your trading activity. And that gets eventually captured in this open interest. So every preceding rise may somewhat have, lesser open interest eventually at the top. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, in 2018 to 20, we had something of this sort where the open interest was going down, but the market was rising high. So this again would not be of much importance to you from analysis perspective, but visually what it tells you that market is rising higher, future open interest should rise higher. Okay. And that will be like a good indication of, I mean, that will be a sign of a healthy market. Okay. But in futures OI by index, what we do is that, because see, future OI is always rising higher. So you will never understand what is the overbought oversold zone, or you don't know when people are getting overboard and there is excess trading that is happening. So that's where we have diffused it with one of the index to get a range. Okay. And that range becomes extremely helpful from a medium to long term perspective. So I will just come that in a while. But when we see the OI put call ratio, okay, so this OI put call ratio is again helpful to for you to gauge whether, are we heading higher in the short term or are we going lower in the short term. Because a rising OI PCR is bullish, okay, and a falling OI PCR is bearish and it can lead to correction. And the better signals will be that when, say, when the market is going lower, okay, and you see the OI PCR rising higher, this is telling you that market is going lower, but people are confident enough that, the downside could be limited, and that's why they are okay to short more puts. And when they short more puts, that's where the OI PCR starts rising higher or it starts inching higher. So, again, this can be an early indication, especially when the momentum is fading out. Okay. Because you can see over here as well that, there is some divergence over here, and then we have seen a bounce. So again, especially in the last in last 1 year or so, this range has, come down. So earlier it used to come to 1.2 or so, but after COVID, around this 1.5 mark or so, it tops out. So, basically when it reaches the bottom, that's where it becomes oversold and we can expect a bounce. And when it reaches an highest point, so, usually we have seen some sort of divergence forming and only then topping out. Okay. Even over here, you can see, and eventually, there was this divergence that we could saw, and then when this trend line broke on the upside and this, rise happened, that's where, even the OI PCR shot up. But yes, broadly, what it tells you is that once it comes to around 1.5 sort of range, you need to be careful that, market could lose momentum on the upside and a correction could be due. Similarly, when it reaches to 0.72 or so, that's where a market bottom could occur, and an up move is possible. Okay. Now this one is extremely important, especially for investors and a positional. I mean, from a medium term perspective, who are investing, say, for 6 months perspective, 1 year or 2 year or 3 year for that matter, it becomes extremely important. So when you So, firstly, I'll make you understand what this future OI by index is. Okay. So, say, I mean, future OI, like I told you, future OI keeps rising higher, right? So, you would never know whether excess speculation ho raha hai ki nahi. So, that's where when you divide it by an index, you sort of get a range, right? And that range sort of helps you to understand whether are we getting into that excess phase or no, जहाँ पे excess speculation हो रहा है. And we always know that excess speculation eventually, doesn't end well. And what we end up getting is the margin calls. Margin calls हो जाता है, then you have to sell off your portfolio to, fund that M2M margin. and that's where it ends up becoming ugly. So whenever we have seen that this particular indicator, whenever it reaches 1700 or above, that's where you have to be very, very careful, because it tells you that medium term may lot of speculation is happening. Okay, and your the speculation point is very high. That's why you're seeing future OI index reaching very high. Now, just to give you a perspective, this indicator had come to around 1700 levels somewhere in 2018. Okay, now this is where actually the market peaked out, especially the mid caps. So you can see over here, this is Jan 18. Now if I do the mid cap index, okay, and if I do this top, this was 2018, right? So this is where mid cap peaked over here, and eventually we saw a massive correction. Now, when this ratio comes to the lower level, okay, so that's where it tells you that यहाँ पे speculation कुछ भी नहीं है, and people are out of the market largely. Okay, so that is the point where you can say that people are sort of neutral, they are light on leverage. So now the leverage can pick up on either direction. Okay, but yes, I mean, the more helpful signals that we have found is that when this reaches an extreme. Now similar thing had happened in 2008. So 2008 May, this ratio had again reached to 1700 sort of levels. Okay, now you can see that there is the variation over here. I mean, over here we fell directly, but over here we had months of distribution that was formed. And in fact, in people who follow technicals, यहाँ पे rising wedge बन गया था. Okay, and once this rising wedge broke on the downside, it led to a very big correction. So this rising wedge with a divergence, and already mid cap index were falling on the downside consistently. So these all were warning signs over here, because everyone who has participated during that phase, they know that खाली 5-6 स्टॉक चलते थे, and वो टाइम पे ऋतिक था, that HDFC Bank, then HDFC Bank, Reliance, and so on. I mean, those were the 5-7 stocks which only used to work at that point of time. So that's where this indicator becomes very important. Now, I mean, people who follow us on India charts as well. I mean, we are sounding a little cautious now over here. I mean, we have been more or less cautious over here, and we have been trying to trade only one move at a time, mainly because we are seeing this long term indicator now reaching towards an extreme. Now, like I told you, I mean, when it reaches an extreme, that is a warning sign for you. Okay, that doesn't mean कि ये 1700 पे आ गया तो कल ही जाके बेच दो. It doesn't work that way. What you have to do is that you have to start, I mean, you have to start preparing for that correction that can happen, because it can so happen that there will be some pullbacks from time to time that you may see. And in this sort of phase, you will see the breadth also coming down, significantly. Okay. And then there will be a point of capitulation. I mean, then there will be a point of distribution getting over, and that's where a decline can happen. Okay, so that's where your trend analysis. So for example, I mean, the simple trend analysis that you can do is that you can follow the weekly averages, because you can see that in this entire phase, okay, the weekly averages is not getting broken on the downside. So it was only over here where it broke, but eventually it recovered. So depending on your risk appetite, you can keep 20-week or 40-week, whatever it is, or if you may have anything like if you follow trend lines or something. So that trend analysis perspective, that you need to figure out for yourself, like what suits you best. But all these indicators will sort of help you to understand if we are reaching towards an extreme or no. Okay, if you are reaching towards an extreme, then you need to see whether your stocks are now participating in the rally or no, because it is because there are very high chance that once the market reaches an extreme, okay, not necessarily it will fall directly, but you will see distribution phase in between, where you will see that your stock stops participating in the up move. Okay, so those are all the signs that you can see. Uh, uh, I mean, those are all the signs for you to take a note of that underperformance. And whenever the reversal occurs, you need to be careful because drawdowns could be 20, 30, 40% in a stock, right? So that's how this indicator can be a great help to you to understand where are we in a larger context. Okay. Now, similarly, when we see the put call ratio, okay, now this uh, ratio has frankly behaved a little differently after 2021, but nevertheless, I will explain you how this works. So basically, what it tells you is that when this ratio is at the lower level, okay, that is the time where markets can peak. The logic over here is that, see, this is a put call ratio, okay, which means जब volume call में ज़्यादा high हो रहा है, okay, then you will see this ratio coming towards the lower level. And when you see volume put में ज़्यादा हो रहा है, that time you will see the ratio coming towards the higher level. So this works inversely. So basically, when this ratio is at lower level around 0.4, 0.5, that's where a medium term top can occur. Okay. Even over here, you can see that in 2018 also, your future OI was reaching an extreme, and you had this volume put call ratio also reaching an extreme. So over here also, we could see that this ratio had reached an extreme. So there was some distribution that took place, but after that, we saw a meaningful correction. Okay. So always you will, I mean, put call ratio, the volume put call ratio will sort of help you to understand how people are feeling about this market, whether they are bullish about it or bearish about it. Because if they are bullish about it, then you will see a lot of volume happening in call option. And if people are bearish about it, then you will see a lot of volume happening in the put option. Now, just prior to 2021, if you see, you will see that whenever it used to reach an extreme on the upside, that's where a meaningful bottom used to occur. Okay, like you can see over here. Okay, like you see somewhere over here. So that's where it ends up giving you a signal. And see, in 2008, I mean, there used to be crazy level of speculation on the upside, and that's where you had seen this ratio even going to 0.14 or so. Okay, but broadly, what it tells you is that when you are at the lower end of the range, it means that the market mood is very bullish. People are extremely bullish on that particular side, and you need to be careful. Okay, all these indicators will help you to not be with the herd mentality. Okay, it may sort of help you to think rationally and be a contra investor or a trader as well. But I mean, like I told you, always what is important in these cases is price reversal that should be accompanied. Okay, so when this ratio reaches an extreme on the upside or on the downside, then you would want price reversal to happen for that particular trend. Now, in 2021, I mean, sorry, in 2023 or so, we have seen this ratio turning unusually high. I mean, over here, we were very much, gung-ho about the market because this ratio had come towards an extreme, and we thought that this is the range what it usually follows, right? And we can see an up move in the days to come, and that happened. Okay. Now, again, at this bottom, okay, sorry, it was basically at this bottom. Okay, I mean, the put call was so high as compared to this bottom. Okay, so this was like a divergence. I mean, लोग यहाँ पे इतना बहुत ज़्यादा bearish है, then people were bearish over here. So this again help us to catch this up move over here. But now what has happened is that we have sort of formed in a range over here. Okay, So यहाँ पे जब ये -0.66 आ जाता है, it turns out to be oversold. Okay. And then we end up getting a rally. So when this ratio actually turns towards the higher levels, okay, that is over here, then it results into a bottom. And when this ratio goes to say 0.66 or so, that's where a top sort of occurs. Now, again, over here in Nifty, you might not appreciate the top, but in small and mid caps, we saw a 10% sort of correction after, it reaching to 0.66. So right now, what we are seeing is that there is this range that has been built up. But if a very significant long-term top has to occur, okay, then ideally we would end up seeing this ratio also going to 0.43. But now the other way to look at it is that why this ratio is at elevated levels despite market rising higher is because there could be skepticism amongst the people that, given that there are so many geopolitical risk and all that is there. So it might well be that they may want to hedge the portfolio, and that's where the volume for the put is picking up a lot. So that's where, I mean, like I told you, if lot of indicators give you an indication कि यहाँ पे bottom बनने वाला है, right? That's where you go all out, and the more the indicators confirm, the more confident you can be, right? The other one now is the breadth. I mean, this is something which all of y'all might be very well versed with. So what we do over here is that we take the AD ratio and we smoothen it with the 20-day and the 40-day average to get short-term and medium-term signals. Now over here, one thing which I want people to understand is that the value over here doesn't matter. Okay, it's the shape of the line that matters, and whether we are reaching to the overbought or oversold zone, or sorry, uh, 1 minute. So yeah, so whether we are reaching overbought, oversold zones or no, those are important. Okay. So like you see over here, I mean, I was mentioning you a while back that over here there were so many indicators that was flashing, signals that we are getting into oversold zone. One was the 20-day advanced decline ratio. So over here as well, it works that way that, when we are reaching this second oversold zone over here, okay, that's where it is reaching an extreme and a bounce or an up move is due. And similarly, when it it reaches at the highest point, okay, that's where the breadth is at its peak. Now what can happen is that, especially in the bull market, is that the breadth, the max breadth will peak out very early, okay, and you will keep having divergence till the point you end up seeing a correction. So one of the reasons why we were a little skeptical around this point was because the market was consistently rising higher, but you could see that the breadth had peaked out and it was completely going down, okay, and eventually we also saw the narrowing of participation from the stock, right? And that's where, over here we were slightly cautious and we were expecting a correction, and here the correction came. So in Nifty it was not big, but in small mid caps, it was a good 8-10% kind of correction that we saw. And that's where, we saw this ratio turning towards the oversold zone, and that's where, we got this indication that probably a pullback could be due, because like I told you, I mean, we wait for several indicators also to confirm. Like you see the daily swing, that had come towards the oversold zone. You see the average swing, which is again a short-term indicator. This had also come towards the oversold zone. So when multiple things come towards the oversold zone in one single, at the same time, that's where, you can say a meaningful bottom can occur. Okay. And if not a bottom, then at least a sideways sort of consolidation can follow, and you can take it from there on, like, whether important resistance levels are breaking or no. And that's how, you can sort of make your judgment whether are we going to again resume a downtrend, or is this a trend reversal? Similarly, a 40-day ratio, I mean, that also when it, I mean, same concept over here. Don't look at the numbers, just look at the lines. whether we are in this overbought oversold zone or no. And we could see that the 20-day hitting the oversold zone and the 40-day also hitting this first oversold zone, 40-day AD ratio. Then, and apart from that, swing, average swing was also indicating that. So that's where, we got this confidence that a short-term bottom can occur and we need to be mindful of that. And if not an immediate correction, so at least what we can expect is a pullback, the least to follow. Okay. And once if certain levels are broken on the upside, then we can see the index rising even higher, and we will eventually see breadth also picking up significantly as the up move unfolds, right? Now this AD summation, this actually works very well from a long-term perspective, but over here you need to understand the perspective, okay? Uh, because see, over here what we are actually doing is that we are doing advance minus the decline. So say for example, there are 100 advances, there are 200 declines, so the figure is minus 100. So we will do minus of what was the previous day. So say the value of previous day was say 1000. So we will do it 990. So basically what it tells you is that when the market is rising higher and when this line is going down, that is telling you a narrowing of breadth. Okay. And this you can see it over here as well. So sometimes this becomes very helpful in spotting the divergence. Like you could see that the market was rising over here, but it was going down. Now, over here, one important thing is that you cannot compare, okay, this phase with this phase. I mean, so say a bottom has occurred from here, so you have to gauge the uptrend is being followed by a good breadth or not. So in fact, it was only at this high when the breadth peaked out, okay, and not even at this high. So that this tells you that the breadth is actually very good, was very good till this point. But you can see that after that, the breadth started declining. And in this phase, you could see that the breadth peaked over here. And in the second high, the breadth was actually lower. So this again helps you to spot the divergence. Now, somewhat very similar, we had seen it around this phase as well. So this was sort of confirming what was happening on the 20-day average as well. And you can see that the max breadth peaked out over here, and after that, while this was rising higher, this was consistently falling down, and we end up getting a correction. Okay, so that's how you can follow smaller time. I mean, you can follow patches over here to understand how the breadth is behaving. Now, a different way of looking at the breadth is again a diffusion indicator, where if you see the percentage of stock above the 20-day average, 50-day average, 100-day average, and 200-day average. Now, people who are looking from a short, from a medium to long-term perspective, I have found percentage of stock about 200 DMA very helpful, because when this ratio comes to around 10 or 20 or so, that's where a medium or a long-term bottom occurs. Okay. And on the upside, see what happens is that on the upside, it will typically end up showing divergence because the breadth will keep getting narrower at the top. So your main signals over here are that when this ratio comes towards the oversold zone. So, assuming that we are in a bull market in the long term. So when this ratio comes to around 20% or 10%, that is the time where you have to go all out. Now, think of it from a combination perspective, right? That if say the FI is positioning or reaching an extreme bottom over here, which had happened, right? The clients were extremely long at this point. The DIs were extremely long, and client and DIs are usually long extreme at the bottom, right? And then you are seeing this indicator, reaching towards the oversold zone. So these are all, I mean, this holds very important. I mean, this can be a very important bottom because multiple indicators are suggesting you that we are getting into an oversold zone. So this will sort of help you to look at it objectively and not just look at your bias. Okay. So maybe your bias could be bearish. So yes, our bias was sort of bearish over here. I mean, when we were correcting, because we thought that this entire impulse is complete and a meaningful correction can happen. But when many of the sentiment indicators turned towards extreme on the downside, that's where we eventually turned our view, and it was basically followed by a bullish outlook that we sort of had. But yes, I mean, this works very well from medium to long term perspective. Now, if you're a very short term trader, then 20-day average will work very well for you. So this again, you can select it on different index. I mean, Nifty 50 you can do. So whichever has a broader basket, only those things we have given over here. Okay. Like Bank Nifty and all we haven't given because there is only 12, 13 stocks which are there, and that can skew the line. So whichever are the broader index, that is where we have given. And so yes, usually when they come towards the oversold zone, that's where a meaningful bottom can occur in the short term, and what you can actually look out for is a bounce or an up move. Now, if at all it is going to be in a medium term correction, then you might have this ratio coming towards the lower level, and then you will see a bounce, and then again it will go down, and to a point where it forms a divergence, and only then it forms an up move. So, like I told you, I mean, your trend analysis will also help you in this, but your reading of sentiments will sort of help you to know, whether we should be extremely bullish or bearish at this point of time, right? Then we have this similar thing like percentage of stock with RMI buy. So again, when it comes to 80-90, it becomes overbought. This becomes oversold. Similarly, we have it for MACD. So over here, we have it for ADX as well. So, you can see that this percentage of stock about 25 is at 30, which means that the stocks are not trending, because normally when ADX is above 25, that's where we can say that there is a trend that is picking up. So yes, I mean, this can also help you to get a perspective whether the market is trending or not trending. And then what we have is, over here, what we plot is an average. I mean, nine-day average of stocks which are hitting new 1 month high, new 1 quarter high, new 1 year high. Okay, and in net, basically we plot the highs and the lows as well. So say for example, if there are 10 stocks which are making high, but there are 12 stocks which are making low, so this reading will actually go in red, and it will tell you -2. So but -2 will be of that day's reading. So obviously we smoothened it by the 9-day average. So that's where you sort of understand whether how the breadth is. So you can see over here that the market was rising higher, but the breadth was actually going down, 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 right? So again, these can be complementary to what we have seen in the 20-day average and so on. So yeah, so I mean, basically that's about it from the sentiment and the diffusion indicator. Now, if you'll have any questions, then I'm happy to answer it.
Wow, wonderful, Jay. Okay, sure. So let's start taking up the Q&A. You can raise your hands. Those who are having doubts, we'll allow you to unmute, and you can ask your doubts. I hope it was a good learning session. You can put it in the chatbot. Any questions? Yes. Ved Prakash.
Yes.
Yeah, Ved.
So yeah, sorry.
हेलो
Just before
Yeah.
that,
हाँ
someone had
नमस्कार सर हिंदी हिंदी में बात हो जाएगी ना
हाँ
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 हाँ हाँ.
जरूर जरूर
अच्छा
वेद जी
सर
वेद जी
जी
एक सेकेंड खाली एक किसका क्वेश्चन था कि क्लाइंट्स में कौन इंक्लूड होते हैं, तो इट इज बेसिकली रिटेल्स, HNIs, अल्ट्रा HNIs एंड ऑल दोज पीपल आर इंक्लूडेड.
Yeah.
या सो सॉरी वेद जी, आप आपका क्वेश्चन पूछिए.
जी सर मैं ये पूछ रहा था कि जैसे जो इंट्राडे के लिए हमें रेगुलर रोज चाहिए होते हैं स्टॉक्स तो एकदम से वो पता लगते हैं क्या?
सो देखो, इसमें ना क्या होता है वेद जी, कि आपको ना ये पता लगता है कि इंडेक्स ओवरबॉट हो रहा है कि ओवरसोल्ड हो रहा है. ठीक है, तो अगर आपको इंडेक्स पे एक ब्रॉडर व्यू समझ में आया, तो उससे क्या होता है कि आप स्टॉक सिलेक्शन कर सकते हो, समझे आप? मतलब अभी मान लो कि मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है कि इंडेक्स में शॉर्ट टर्म बॉटम बन सकता है, ओके, देन आई विल ट्राई टू फाइंड कि कौन से सारे स्टॉक्स है जो अप ट्रेंड में है या नीचे से ऊपर हो रहे हैं। फॉर दैट अगेन यू कैन यूज ये जो स्कैनर है हमारा डाउ थियरी का या रोहित रोहित मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर के। यहाँ पे सपोज अभी मान लो कि मार्केट अभी कल रिवर्स हुआ, ठीक है, एंड इट हैज कम डाउन, ओके, एंड इफ यू सी, अगर ये जो सेंटिमेंट इंडिकेटर्स में भी थोड़े दिनों से ये हमको ब्रेड डाइवर्जेंस दिख ही रहा है, करेक्ट? मतलब यहाँ पे ये मोमेंटम स्विंग यहाँ पे पीक हुआ, बट अब जाके यहाँ पे व्हेन यू हैव गॉट दिस सिग्नल ऑन द डाउन साइड, तो ये हमें कहता है कि एटलीस्ट नियर टर्म में देर इज अ गुड चांस के पॉज या करेक्शन आ सकता है, करेक्ट? अब जब मैंने ये फिगर आउट कर लिया है, तो व्हाट आई विल डू इज दैट मैं रोहित मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर या कोई भी स्कैनर पे आऊंगा, बिकॉज आई यूज दिस मोर एक्सटेंसिवली। आई सी कि न्यू सेल में कौन से है स्टॉक्स। अभी न्यू सेल में जो भी स्टॉक्स है उसके मैं सेटअप्स देखूंगा कि क्या वो शॉर्ट करने के लायक है या नहीं है। तो ब्रॉडली आपको एक टॉप डाउन अप्रोच मिल सकता है कि आप आपको ये समझ जाता है कि अभी निफ्टी यहाँ से शायद बढ़ नहीं सकता है ज़्यादा, तो आप शॉर्ट्स के लिए फिर आप देखोगे। एंड सिमिलरली अगर निफ्टी में ज़्यादा करेक्शन आ गया है एंड इट इज़ रीचिंग एन ओवरसोल्ड जोन, तो आप फिर बुलिश बेट्स के लिए आप देख सकते हो।
ठीक। और सर ये जो रिकॉर्डिंग है वो मिलेगी क्या?
यस यस।
क्योंकि मैं लेट हो गया था।
नहीं
तो
नहीं, ये आपको मिलेगी, ये यूट्यूब पे भी मिलेगी और यहाँ पर भी हम अपलोड करेंगे इसको। ये वेबिनार है ना, ये सेक्शन। एंड
ठीक।
इनफैक्ट जो भी मैंने सपोज जो बताए थे कि जैसे कोई कोई इंडिकेटर्स शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए भी हो सकता है एंड सो ऑन, यहाँ पे एक्चुअली ना आप आपके खुद के नोट्स भी बना सकते हो, सो दैट यू नो यू डोंट हैव टू गो थ्रू द वेबिनार अगेन एंड अगेन। मतलब यहाँ पे नोट्स आपने बना लिया कि डेली स्विंग एंड एवरेज स्विंग इज फॉर शॉर्ट टर्म, तो you know this can be of great help to you.
जी जी।
Thank you.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू।
Yeah.
Falguni Banerjee.
Hello, good morning. May I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
My question is that can I apply this sentiment indicator for other indices like Nifty IT, Nifty FMCG, Nifty mid cap, small
Yeah.
cap, etc.
So
and
see,
stocks
you
also?
can, हाँ, you can apply it for the see, ये जो है ना, ये हमने खाली निफ्टी का चार्ट दिया है, ठीक है, बट आई मीन इट इज एप्लीकेबल फॉर एनी इंडेक्स। जैसे कि अगर मान लो कि 20 डे एडी रेशियो है, अगर ये बॉटम हो रहा है, मतलब देर इज अ गुड चांस कि ये गिरा इसलिए बिकॉज स्मॉल मिड कैप्स गिरे हैं, करेक्ट? अभी जैसे आप
अच्छा।
ये डिफ्यूजन इंडिकेटर देखोगे ना, तो परसेंटेज ऑफ स्टॉक अबाउट 20 डे एवरेज, और ये आप ये 5 इंडेक्स में से किसी के लिए भी देख सकते हो। हमने टोटल मार्केट भी डाला है क्योंकि टोटल मार्केट में 750 स्टॉक्स है, तो दैट कैन गिव यू अ गुड ब्रेथ इंडिकेशन एज वेल। पर
अच्छा।
ये डेफिनेटली आप दूसरे इंडाइसेस पे भी देख सकते हो एंड आप रेप्लिकेट कर सकते हो। मतलब दैट एनालिसिस यू कैन कंसिडर फॉर स्मॉल मिड
Uh,
कैप।
Jay, just to
And for
understand, his question was more on sentiment indicators.
yes,
या
yes,
या
yes.
सो दीज आर ऑल सेंटिमेंट इंडिकेटर्स ओनली। और जैसे देखो, मैंने जैसे बताया कि अगर निफ्टी भी बॉटम आउट होगा ना, तो मोस्ट लाइकली स्मॉल मिड कैप्स भी बॉटम आउट होके चलेंगे ही। ओके, वी आर जस्ट टेकिंग निफ्टी एज अ बेंचमार्क।
But what about Nifty IT and which
तो
is
दिस अगेन सी, अभी फ्रैंकली ना क्या हो रहा है कि देर इज अ लॉट ऑफ सेक्टर रोटेशन दैट वी आर सीइंग, ठीक है? तो वो
yes.
केस में फिर आपको शायद है ना, आपको हीट मैप्स वगैरह आपको अच्छा बताएंगे। जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल, मैं खाली एक मैं एग्जांपल ले रहा हूँ, ठीक है? अभी ये फेज से मान लो कि मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है कि इधर बॉटम आउट हुआ है, ओके,
अच्छा, अच्छा,
यहाँ पे। तो मैं ये देखूंगा, अभी ब्रॉडली ब्रेथ है ना, यहाँ से खराब होना चालू हुआ था, ओके, दिस पॉइंट से।
अच्छा, अच्छा,
तो ये इसका दिन क्या है? 16 जनवरी, ठीक है? ये बॉटम है 20 मार्च। व्हाट आई
yes.
कैन डू इज दैट मैं हीट मैप में जाऊंगा, ओके, इंडाइसेस में जाऊंगा, यहाँ पे कस्टम में जाके ना मैं 16 जनवरी से लेके 20 मार्च का ना मैं परफॉर्मेंस देखूंगा कि कौन से इंडेक्स ने कैसे किया है।
अच्छा।
अब आपको दिख रहा है ये वाले फेज में
हाँ हाँ।
निफ्टी नेक्स्ट 50, निफ्टी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, कमोडिटीज ये सारे अच्छे किए, तो मैं इसमें से बुलिश बेट ढूंढने ट्राई करूंगा।
अच्छा।
You have to go up little bit.
सॉरी,
You have to, yeah, it's still there.
ओ
Yes.
या ओ सॉरी सॉरी सॉरी, ये वाले फेज में देखो पीएसयू, बैंक, ऑटो ये सारे अच्छे परफॉर्म किए। ओके,
यस।
so then my natural tendency is to look out for a buy signals in these indices.
ओके।
तो दिस इज वेयर यू कैन हैव अ टॉप डाउन अप्रोच, जहां से आप ये देख सकते हो कि अगर कोई मीनिंगफुल बॉटम बना है मार्केट में, तो कौन से स्टॉक्स या इंडाइसेस है जो हाई टू लो में अंडर परफॉर्म या आउट परफॉर्म किए। इनफैक्ट ये पूरे इसमें है, मीडिया ने अंडर परफॉर्म किया है, स्मॉल कैप ने अंडर परफॉर्म किया है, सो मे बी दीज आर पॉइंट्स विच यू वुड वांट टू अवॉइड।
Okay. That means it's a indirect method,
यस
isn't it?
यस, सो इट इज लाइक अ
And for
टॉप डाउन मेथड कि आप
yes.
टॉप डाउन अप्रोच से आप इंडेक्स समझते हो क्या है, इंडेक्स से आप स्टॉक्स पे डिराइव करने को ट्राई करते हो।
अच्छा अच्छा. And for stocks, anything else?
सो फॉर स्टॉक्स वी हैव मेनी अदर थिंग्स लाइक स्कैनर्स एंड ऑल, मतलब जहाँ पे कौन से स्टॉक्स है, जैसे मैं आरएमआई फॉलो करता हूँ, तो
Yes.
यू नो कौन से ऐसे स्टॉक्स है जो जो न्यू बाय दे रहे हैं, मतलब अभी सपोजिंगली मेरा टाइम फ्रेम मैं अगर थोड़ा पोजिशनली करता हूँ, तो मैं ये देखना चाहूंगा कि कौन से न्यू बाय मीडियम टर्म पर्सपेक्टिव से दे रहे हैं। ओके, आई मीन मीडियम टर्म मतलब एक हफ्ते से लेके एक महीने के बीच का। तो
Yes.
अभी इससे क्या होगा कि मैं हर एक स्टॉक में एनालाइज करूंगा एंड आई विल ट्राई टू कम अप विद अ बेटर सेटअप इफ आई थिंक के मार्केट यहाँ से ऊपर जाएगा तो। बट एट द सेम टाइम इफ आई थिंक के मार्केट में पीक हो गया है एंड यहाँ से मुझे लग रहा है कि नीचे जाएगा, तो मैं ये देखूंगा कि कौन से स्टॉक्स में सेल आ रहा है, एंड इसमें मैं बास्केट भी चूज करता हूँ, एफएनओ का मैं बास्केट में चूज कर सकता हूँ। तो एफएनओ में ये सारे स्टॉक्स है जो सेल आ रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो मैं सेटअप्स देखूंगा कि किसके अच्छे सेटअप्स है सेल के लिए।
अच्छा अच्छा. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
सिमिलरली
Thank you
मतलब
very
हाँ,
much.
ये आरएमआई है, वैसे डाउ ट्रेंड है, सो देर आर मेनी अदर वेज विच यू कैन डिराइव। मतलब आप ये भी देख सकते हो कि कौन से 20 डे के नीचे है, तो उसके लिए आप यहाँ पे सिंपल मूविंग एवरेज में जाके क्रॉसिंग बिलो 20 SMA करो, तो आपको मिल जाएगा रिजल्ट।
And in fact, the rollover analysis also, Jay, the webinar,
I
what
mean,
you had done.
we have done webinar in length over here. तो मतलब बेसिकली क्या है कि आप डिफरेंट डिफरेंट इंडिकेटर्स आप यूज कर सकते हो एज पर योर कन्वीनियंस, लाइक विच यू फाइंड इट हेल्पफुल।
Okay, next up is Mahadir Vittori. Mahadir,
Hello. Hello, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
good morning. Good morning.
Very good morning, Jay sir.
या गुड मॉर्निंग
सर आप पेट्रोनेट बोला ना सर, वो पेट्रोनेट का टारगेट हो चुका है, पोजीशन क्या है सर उधर पेट्रोनेट की?
सर मैं आपको रिकमेंडेशन नहीं दे सकता, मैं आपको खाली इतना बता सकता हूँ कि हम एनालिसिस करने का तरीका बता सकते हैं, देन इट इज अप टू योर
ओके.
रिस्क एपेटाइट।
हाँ, ओके सर, ओके.
या
Just if you can show what analysis you had done on Petronet, Jay, based on strike.
सो बेसिकली महीदर जी, जो हमने मतलब पहले भी बात किया था कि यहाँ पे बहुत सारे शॉर्ट बिल्डअप थे पेट्रोनेट में, ठीक है।
यस यस
तो एक्चुअली अगर आप देखो तो अभी भी ये ओपन इंटरेस्ट बहुत हाई है,
यस सर.
ठीक है, मतलब अब तक भी मुझे ऐसे लग रहा है कि शॉर्ट्स नहीं कटे हैं जो यहाँ पे जो है
यस
जो फॉर्म हुए हैं। एंड इनफैक्ट लास्ट थोड़े दिनों से मैं इसका अगर डिटेल्ड एनालिसिस में करूँ तो ये लास्ट थोड़े दिनों से कंसिस्टेंटली लॉन्ग बिल्टअप हो रहा है, विच इज़ अ वेरी गुड
यस
साइन।
सर. यस सर.
सो
सर
टिपिकली
आपका टारगेट तो 315 तो हो गए.
नहीं सर, मैं टारगेट वारगेट किधर भी बताया नहीं था एंड वी आर नॉट सेबी रजिस्टर्ड ऑनेस्टली, सो आई मीन
Yes, sir.
व्हाटएवर व्यूज दैट वी गिव इज बेस्ड ऑन द एनालिसिस दैट वी डू इट फ्रॉम स्ट्राइक, दैट्स इट।
ओके सर. सर वन वन मोर क्वेश्चन सर, एक बार इन्फोसिस देखो ना सर.
सर आई कैन नॉट।
Mahadir ji, kindly, let's not discuss on individual stocks. आज sentiment indicator के ऊपर है. So kindly, okay, we'll have a different
Okay, sir.
webinar for this. Huh? Kindly.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is Sandeep Menon. Mr. Sandeep Menon.
Yeah, am I audible, Jay?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so thanks. There are a couple of questions. One is, if you can just go to the Rohit scanner one. My question might sound stupid, but I want a clarity here is that when we look at a hourly chart or a daily chart, what do you mean by hourly chart? Does it mean 9:15 till 10:15 kind of, or is it that whenever I'm logging in, or is it when the market opens?
No. So you can see over here each candle. So what we have done is that 9:15 say 10:15 is 1 hour. Okay. 10:15 to 11:15 is 1 hour. Like you can see over here, each candle you will find it in 1 hour interval. So that is how we plot it.
Okay.
I mean, different platforms do it differently. Some do it from 9:30 to 10:30 or so. The approach that we have followed is 9:15 to 10:15 is one candle.
Okay.
Daily means 1 day candle. But within 1 day, whatever activity has happened, that you will be able to see.
Okay, great. And my second question is, which is on that low-hanging fruit of RRG, which has been still shown as upcoming kind of thing. When is it likely to upcome? When is it likely to be active? One.
Chavan?
Yeah.
Step in.
Sir, by Tuesday or Monday, we are starting the UAT. Okay. UAT in the sense user acceptance test. Okay. With some of the users. And after that, we should be expected to go live. And in all possible, positively this month, definitely we'll be going live.
So
RRG.
does it come as an additional cost to the user, or if you're already
No, if you're already an existing user, that will see right now it is all pro. Okay, now we'll be introducing something called as Pro Plus, but the existing subscribers will come under Pro Plus. So you'll have the access. You don't need to worry.
okay? Then my last question is, if RRG is that low hanging fruit, isn't it then a reversal in terms of purchase or sale that you need to do? If I know a particular stock is going to come into that regular buy or trading zone for me once the RRG is active, isn't that then known to all of us, and wouldn't then the price action impact my purchase decision?
No, I didn't get your question.
No.
Is it?
I will answer you, Sandeep ji. See, everyone has their own method, right?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, see, some method may suit someone, some methods may suit other guys. Okay. So I don't think, I mean, see, we haven't seen market dynamics change despite, so many analytical tools and all coming in the market. And, there is so much of research that is available in the market, but market follows certain pattern, right? And
Right.
and that is the pattern that we try to figure out looking at those charts. The reason why we have given the historical data is that there will be some phases that might be totally different. Like, I mean, especially for futures, when in, I think, 2017 or so, when the P notes got banned, before that, there used to be crazy positioning, even by the FIIs. Like, if you see the FIIs prior to 2016-17 or so, their short used to go to somewhere around 3 lakh or so. Now it is not even, I mean, their long used to go to 3 lakh or so. Now it is not even going above 1 lakh. So that's where we have all the historical data in place for you all to analyze and see if the range is changing or not.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
So yeah, Shravan,
I hope.
I will just address couple of questions which I had seen in the chart.
Hmm.
So one is that how you added multiple indicators in a single chart. So it was through this. I mean, Rishi, in indicators, we have listed down all of these things over here. Okay. So the moment, see, call minus put is selected right now. Now the moment I do 20-day advanced decline ratio, so it will come down. As of now, we don't have the provision to save it. Okay. I mean, when you go back to the other page and you come back, so you will only have one indicator selected. But over a period of time, we will bring in all those things where eventually we'll even bring technical indicators and things over here. But to answer your question, how do I do it? I click on the indicator button and I click whatever average I want to see. Like if I want to see FII's index net futures, then I type FIIs at the top and I add it over here. So this is how you can have multiple things. I mean, you can look at multiple things at the same time.
Okay, and I hope everyone is a part of our Telegram channel. Further webinars will be informed over there. If you have not joined, I'm putting the link in the chat. Kindly do join our Telegram channel. And if anyone is still not a subscriber, you can go to plans and billings and you can choose your subscription and subscribe. So with this, let's wind up
Chavan,
today's
there is
session.
one question.
Yep.
There is one question which someone has posted in the chat box, which is that why does your AD summation have a huge downward bias? So see, what happens is that I mean, you can say that over a period of time, kachara stocks, they keep going down only. And probably in our case, I mean, see, we have somewhere around 6, 7, 8,000 stocks. I mean, 6,000, 7,000, 7,000 approximately stocks in BSE now. And this actually data that we take is for all the BSE stocks. Okay, that includes everything you can say your X group, Z group, T group, everything. Okay. So it could be the case that, there are more kachra stocks that goes down and say in case of 7,000 stocks, 3,000 stocks which are active in the NSE as well, those would be good, but many other stocks may not be good. So that's where, you will see this AD ratio consistently going down. I mean, that is the only reason what I can think of, frankly. Also, there is one question. Hello, if how volume and OI correlates. So yeah, so Avinash, see, I mean, if you see the behavior of OI and volume OI, those are totally opposite. Okay, which means that in OI, you look at it from open interest point of view. In volume PCR, you look at it from volume perspective, right? So when your open interest is at the lowest, that's where, I mean, typically, I mean, this OI PCR, when it's at the lowest point, that's where you can say that there is a lot of call writing that is happening. Okay, so this you imagine from a call writer perspective, and this is like an option buyer perspective, right? So whenever your PCR ratio is very high, it is telling you that there is a lot of activity that is happening on the put side. Okay, and that's where if the market is correcting, there is a good chance that a bottom can occur. Similarly, when the market declines, the OI PCR will become very low because more and more people are calling, shorting call option. So that is the fundamental difference between the OI PCR and the vol PCR. So they usually, react differently. I mean, opposite way. Then there is one more option, call OI rising. Does it mean volume also rising? No, no. Call OI rising. So over here, we are only focused on OI, Avinash, and not on volume or anything. Okay. So it is purely if the OI is rising as compared to put option. So it is again a ratio and a comparison. So say, for example, if my call OI is 100, okay, and the put OI is 50. So, and the put OI is say 200, right? So the PCR will become 2 over here, right? So that is how we basically calculate the ratio. So it has nothing to do with volume, but we are purely calculating it based on the open interest. So yes, Kalpit Patel, you can get recording. We will post it on Strike over here in webinar section. Okay. And we will also post it on our YouTube channel as well. You can also follow us on Telegram, which I believe Chavan has given the link in the chat. You can also join there. We'll share the recording over there as well. Can we analyze different sector? No. So Atul Bhatia, if we analyze this for a broad-based sector, then it's helpful. But like I had mentioned earlier as well, if you feel that the bottom has been made in the index, you can take the use of, you can take the help of heat map and understand which are the sectors that are outperforming and which are the stocks that are outperforming, so that you can build the position accordingly. But when we look at a very small set of index, so say for example, IT has only 10-12 stocks in Nifty IT index, Bank Nifty has only 12-13 stocks. So those, the sentiment indicators, if we look over there, it would be very erratic. And in fact, the percentage of 20-day average and so on. And that's why we have not included it, because, that is frankly of no help to you. And it may not give you accurate signals as the broader indices do. So Kalpit has a question that if OI of both the sides are similar. So over here, Kalpit, the whole idea is to know if we are reaching an extreme or no, and accordingly positioning ourselves. So say, for example, if the volume put call is very high, which means it is telling you that the market could be at its bottom, then you might want to look at it. You might want to see a reversal and then buy a call option. Inversely, when the volume PCR is at the lowest point of its range and the market is rising higher consistently, and then when it reverses, then you might want to buy put option, because the anticipation would be that now a correction can occur. So that's how, when it reaches an extreme, that is where you can actually take your position. And do we have tutorial for short-term trading? So yes, Suraj, over here, if you see in the help section, we have given all the possible videos, which might be helpful to you for your trading perspective. In fact, even we have done webinars also on options and future open interest and so on. You can check those everything over here, right? In the learn section. So you have webinars over here, and at the top, if you click on help, you have all the important videos that you might want to see for your trading. So yes, I think with that, we have finished all the questions.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope everyone have joined. Do subscribe to Strike. Keep attending the webinars. It's just a 1.5 hours time. Keep attending, and at least if you can't attend, go through the webinars recordings. We'll post it by evening. Go through it, make some notes, and meticulously follow it. We are going to bring a lot of tools going forward to make sure Strike becomes India's best analytical tool. That is what our aim is, and we are working towards it. So thank you for all the support. We look forward to future webinars. Keep attending. Thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot. You can put it in the chat box. I hope it was a good session. I hope you all learned it. Thanks, Jay. Thanks. It was a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.